Today, I'm up a little bit over $16,000 day trading, having one winner and one loser. And today, I'll be reviewing exactly how I was able to realize the day that I had. Let's get into it. So, if we're able to head over into the charts, what you're able to see here, the first thing I want to do is go over the loser, which happened last night during the Asia session. It was a trade in where we had a long bias and tried to capitalize off a long opportunity, and we happened to hit stop. So, kind of thesis coming into this trade right here. I kind of posted the idea. I said, idea, fancy Asia, new week opening gap fill, idea looking at the 5 minute gap tap and 1 minute inversion. So, we had a 5 minute fair value gap alongside a 1 minute inversion where I wanted to see price come up here and go invert. We did end up doing that. And then I ended up taking my entry off this trade. The thesis and the bias behind this trade specifically was that I felt price was very bullish off the open. We had also seen on the hourly time frame NQ come down here and take out a major swing point, which if you just watch the most recent long form video I posted, we kind of talk about that, identifying swing points for higher time frame narrative. We end up seeing price come down here. We end up seeing price taking out that area of sell side, that swing point, and we end up seeing price off the open showcase interest in driving higher. From there, what we ended up doing was more so looking and just simply watching price until price was clear enough in displacement and showcased enough interest in delivering higher. I felt it did. We ended up seeing a very engulfing 5 minute candle, especially for Asia, very engulfing at 8:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We then simply waited for price to retrace into that 5 minute gap where we then saw price essentially tap, then come back up, and we ended up going long. And the time of entry of where we went long was at 9:33 p.m. EST, or excuse me, 9:33 p.m., which is my time, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is an hour ahead, so it'd be 8:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the candle in which we ended up taking with the community was right here, right? So this was the candle we ended up taking out. And our interest, again, was that new week opening gap fill. That was the thesis. Hourly swing low, swept. But obviously, the result with this trade was that we ended up seeing price come down and look for a rebound slower prior to trading higher. Happens, right? It's a part of trading. You sometimes take trades where you feel you have immense conviction in, and they just simply do not pan out. That was one of these trades. I felt all the key components and um, that's the conviction with the trade was very, very supreme. It was there. I liked it a lot. And I feel like trades like this in the future I would take because, again, we had the three components. We had liquidity, right? And we had our bias defined. We had our the price action identifier be pretty good. Right, again, looking at the 5 minute and 1 minute time frame for Asia, this was pretty nice, pretty engulfing. And then for the entry model, I felt was pretty neat. A 5 minute gap rebalance alongside a 1 minute gap go invert. We ended up taking the trade and it ends up failing. The reason I do feel like price failed, simply put, was because price on the hourly time frame wanted to come down here and take out further sell side. We ended up seeing price more so look to trade lower alongside ES before trading back up higher. The great thing with what we ended up doing, chat, is although we got our timing wrong here, we did not panic. We did not revenge trade. We didn't do all these different things as emotional traders and unprofitable traders do. We simply stood out and we're like, okay, we were wrong. Simply move on to the next. And that was New York session. Coming into the New York session, I simply posted my bias. I said, bias coming into the open, we had seen an overnight price come down to higher time frame levels and take them out. Two key swing points in ES, 67.91, 67.82 were both taken out. But we did also form a bullish SMT as ES took out February 17th lows, but NQ did not. NQ seems to be the more aggressive off the opening range move. So for now, it's leading. If we see us trade past a new week opening gap fill, no reason not to believe in higher draw. If the opening range move gets in by these sell back down, essentially, we can look to flip. Let's see. So essentially what I'm saying here is, okay, looking at the chart now and looking at what we did overnight after initially taking that Asia loss, it kind of looks like that new week opening gap interest that we initially had is still there. Reason being, we ended up seeing price, yes, come back down and trade below that low. But the key thing is you end up seeing ES actually take out a significant low within that February 17th low right here. So you see this low get taken out. But if you alongside obviously this swing point here as well, alongside this low, but what you don't end up seeing price do on NQ is take out that low. So when a asset creates a higher low on one low and an other asset creates a lower low, right? That tells you that there is a bullish SMT. And for me specifically, I only like utilizing SMT through higher time frame narrative. And we end up seeing price essentially come back up here overnight slowly but surely. And then if you look at this candle right here, what do you think it is? Obviously, it's the New York open sequence. It's the opening range move. And through our open, we end up seeing price through higher time frame showcase interest back up. Overnight price seeking that move back up on ES. And then you're seeing this opening range move also be bullish. Once that's clear, we simply look to take a trade because now we have all three components aligned. Again, all discussed in the recent long form video. Potential long, combining two gaps into one, looking at a new week opening gap target as fill, or new week opening gap fill as target. The hard part about today, I will say, is it took me a couple of trades before we ended up seeing that full take profit pan out. We ended up seeing price trade a bit up and down, and that's completely fine. There's going to be some days where you want to know you have one trade and boom, you're off. There's going to be some days where it takes a couple tries. As long as it makes sense within your system, it fits your bias and all your components and confluence, there's no reason not to trade it, right? If price wasn't good, if bias wasn't good, if the entry models weren't good, we wouldn't take these trades. But all three were still there despite anything. So we ended up taking this initial trade here. And here's the trade that we ended up taking. It was an ES long, right? That we ended up taking off a combined two gap inversion sequence. So with me, sometimes what I do, like kind of a pro move, I guess, or an advanced move I use is sometimes if we don't have the best displacive gaps, I'll just kind of combine two 1 minute gaps in one. That way we have a bigger zone and there's more displacement required. So we end up taking this trade here at around 9:58, 9:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you look at the Discord, obviously I'm long 0.5R at 10:59, again, 1 hour ahead, which means it's 9:59. We end up seeing price come back up here. The stop loss and validation point was the 1 minute wick low of this 1 minute order block. Wanted to give the trade a bit more breathing room because I feel, chat, when price is very volatile, you want to give the trade as much breathing room as possible. And I felt in terms of the point of invalidation for this trade, if we came down here, took out this low, that didn't necessarily mean that price was looking for reversal. It just meant that we were retracing. So that's why I based my stop there. We take entry. We end up seeing price eventually come back up here. And we do end up seeing target one, quote unquote, get smashed. But this was a 3 micro trade on my Lucid accounts. And I only end up taking out one. So this trade, although it was a 1.5 off TP1, 1.5R, I only end up taking out one. So I don't really realize much off this trade, which is why I mentioned one winner, one loser. The loser through Asia. This is more so like a small green type of take. Then we move on and we end up taking a potential second entry. This is kind of an idea that I more so posted because, again, my conviction was still higher. We were seeing price kind of trade a bit up and down. If you look at NQ on that 5 minute time frame before this follow through, yes, it was up and down, but never did price ever once showcase interest in reversal, in my opinion. We ended up seeing price consistently meet up, but we were just simply looking for that follow through. And the only important thing when prices like this, chat, and it's still clear to me, is making sure that our stop loss is not too premature, meaning our stop loss is not too tight or it's not too early of an entry. So we end up taking this trade here. I'm long, and we end up seeing price essentially validate, come back up. I move my stops break even once we get a closure above this 24,952 level. Targeting this level in 25,036. I believe the unfortunate thing was this trade ended up going break even as well because price was still very up and down. Again, still creating higher lows, still consistently trading good, but it was at a range. So I ended up giving it one more try where you end up seeing me mention an idea. This was the initial idea, but then I go on NQ because NQ and ES had been constantly flipping off divergence. That's why you see me take a couple ES trades today, or ideas, and then a couple new or NQ ideas as well. This idea was a 5 minute fair value gap inversion right here, the smaller gap, and also a 1 minute gap fair value gap inversion. Again, two gaps I kind of combined here, requiring more displace. If we were to break through these two zones here, I feel it was appropriate to more so go look to go long and seek higher validation. However, this is my final trade of the day. I didn't want to trade this too much. If price was going to range, it was going to range, but I felt bias was still clear here. Price wasn't trading bad. Entry models were still good, and draw was still very clear. It wasn't like we were absolutely doing nothing for the whole entire session. So I ended up taking my trade here, and we ended up taking entry here. I am long at 11:37 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? And you see when confirmation hits. Boom. We then ended up seeing price come back up here. We ended up seeing good validation in this move. Went break even off the high of day. Again, kept my stop loss a bit lower off the swing low, just in case we swept that internal sell side. And we end up seeing price come up here, take out this target one in 25,034. We end up trimming one of our two micros. And then our second micro finally got trailed out for about, I believe, for a about a 1.2R. So this take profit one off this one micro was about a 1.3. Keep in mind, we had one micro trimmed off of the first trade, and then obviously our winner here got trailed out. So just shy of a 1R trading day. For us, a compound green day. Bit of a bummer we didn't see full follow through immediately. Sometimes price can be very challenging, which is what causes a couple more takes than usual. But again, that's trading. Every day is not going to be the exact same. That's the important thing here to know. So that's more so it. That's the trading review. Closed out well. Posted obviously my P&L. This was all done live, executed live. So yeah, with that being said, I'm going to catch you guys in the next one, and peace out, y'all.